In accordance with Open Public Meetings Act, PL 1975, Chapter 231, adequate notice of this regular meeting of the Planning Board of the Township of Franklin has been provided. If everyone could you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilman Chase. Mr. Howe.
Here.
Mr. Steinhauer expects to be here at some point. His wife just recently had a baby, so if he can't make it, we will excuse him since he has a newborn at the house. Ms. MacGyver.
Here.
Mr. Mettler.
Here.
Mr. Onyaka. Mr. Pettit is out sick. He recently had an illness. He's also excused. Mr. Thomas.
Here.
Mr. Potasnak.
Present.
Chairman Orsini.
Present. Okay, start off with a bunch of resolutions. Start with Renaissance Franklin.
Make a motion to approve if there's no discussion.
I'll second.
Second.
Ms. MacGyver.
Yes.
Ms. Mettler.
Yes.
Chairman Orsini.
Yes. We'll do 600 Franklin Boulevard LLC.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. MacGyver.
Yes.
Mr. Mettler.
Yes.
Chairman Orsini.
Yes. Orton, PLN 15-00006.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. MacGyver.
Yes.
Mr. Mettler.
Yes.
Mr. Orsini.
Yes. Piersanti, PLN 15-00005.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. MacGyver.
Yes.
Mr. Mettler.
Yes.
Mr. Orsini.
Yes. And Bank of America, PLN 14-00015.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Ms. MacGyver.
Yes.
Mr. Mettler.
Yes.
Chairman Orsini.
Yes. I think I missed the minutes from the regular meeting, July 15th, 2015.
Move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Ms. MacGyver.
Yes.
Mr. Mettler.
Yes.
Chairman Orsini.
Yes. Vouchers, Clarkin and Vignuolo, September retainer, $833.33.
Move to approve.
Second.
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Mr. Howe.
Yes.
Ms. MacGyver.
Yes.
Mr. Mettler.
Yes.
Mr. Thomas.
Yes.
Mr. Potasnak.
Yes.
Chairman Orsini.
Yes. Extension of time, Timothy Kelly. PLN 08-00008.
Hi, I'm seeking a two-month continuance.
And can you just briefly state the reason why you would need it?
Yeah, I had some conditions I had to meet. Most of them are done. Actually, I think they're all done. We're just waiting for some signatures now that everything's finally submitted.
Okay, sounds good.
It's literally half of them are signed, so it's just a matter of.
So what do you think would
Well, we give them the 2 months, just God forbid something crazy happens, so.
We'll do December 15th.
Okay, thank you.
Move to approve the extension until December the 15th.
Second.
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Mr. Houck.
Yes.
Mr. MacGyver.
Yes.
Mr. Mettler.
Yes.
Mr. Thomas.
Yes.
Mr. Potasnak.
Yes.
Chairman Orsini.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Builders Pro LLC. As brief as that one.
Dominic Seminary appearing for Builders Pro LLC. We're asking for an extension of a period of 190 days, and the reason why we're asking for that extension is that we found out that the planner was requiring the demolition of a garage. We found that out in, I believe it was June of this year, and as a result, we started to do some checking, and it turns out that there's electricity that's running to that garage. We then contacted Public Service they had to come out. They have told us they were backed up for 2-3 months, or maybe more, to come out. As soon as we can get them out, then we can do the demolition, move the driveway, and be done. There was also a slight delay as far as sidewalks and curbs. Apparently, schedules just didn't meet, so planner was nice enough to be able to review the plans versus having to make the personal appearance. So that's why we're requesting the extension.
Yep, we're all good.
So, 6 months, roughly April 15th, 2016.
Correct.
Okay, we'll do that.
Okay, move to approve to April the 15th, 2016.
Second.
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Mr. Howe.
Yes.
Mr. MacGyver.
Yes.
Mr. Mettler.
Yes.
Mr. Thomas.
Yes.
Mr. Potasnik.
Yes.
Mr. Onyaka.
Yes.
Chairman Osini.
Yes,
Thank you.
you're welcome. First hearing, M Affiliates LLC and Elkins Enterprises LLC, PLN 15-00012.
I think that's relatively, thank you. We'll fix that. What page is that on? 9. Page 9.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Peter Lanfrit, 3000 Hadley Road, South Plainfield, New Jersey, appearing on behalf of the applicant. This is an application to construct a new parking lot at 501 Cottontail Lane, also property fronts on Memorial Drive. The reason we are here tonight is to get the site plan approval for the parking lot, and we will also need a variance for impervious coverage. This application actually was before the board in 2001. The board granted an approval in 2001, but the approval expired. And as a matter of fact, in reviewing the history of it, the previous approval, we were seeking, or the applicant was seeking, 67% impervious coverage. In 2001, we've reduced it a little bit. I have two witnesses this evening. I have a representative of the occupant of the building to describe why we need the variance and how it will function, and then I will have the engineer who prepared the site plan.
Sure, happy to. Raise your right hand. Solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Name and address for the record, please.
My name is Alex James Ald. I work for Nestle Waters North America. I am responsible for the logistics of the occupant that's at that site.
Can you spell your last name, please?
AULD.
You can have a seat, Mr. Ald. Mr. Ald, Nestle North America is a tenant at the subject property.
That's correct.
Okay, and how long has that company been a tenant at the property?
Yeah, we've actually been there for about 28 years in the community. We've been initially as Great Waters of France, which was Perrier natural spring water that came over. So back in 1987. In 1997, we merged with Great Spring Waters, and from that point is when we started our delivery model, where we actually deliver bottled water products to homes and offices in 1997. So we've been operating it for 18 years in that entity, but 28 years total in the community there.
Okay, and what do you do at the subject property?
Yeah, we actually have, we operate as Nestle Waters North America. We have several DBAs there. So we operate as Poland Spring Water, which is a very familiar brand to this area. And we also have our new entity, which is Ready Refresh by Nestle, which delivers to homes and offices of a wide portfolio of bottled water products, essentially. We do have some teas and things like that, but all types of bottled water to homes and offices. We have 3 distinct operating units there. We have the warehousing and distribution, We also have the delivery model, the Ready Refresh delivery model, where we deliver route trucks to homes and offices. And then we also have an equipment refurbishment center there where we actually refurbish cooler equipment that big bottles sit on that serve offices and homes.
Okay, and how many employees work at the property?
We have about 200 people. With our growth, it changes a little bit from time to time, but of those 200 people, we have about 100 that are tied up with the delivery part of that operation, about 80 that are affiliated with the equipment refurbishment center, and roughly 15, 20 that are associated with the warehouse and distribution, so about 200 total.
And what are the hours of operation at the facility?
We essentially run 24 hours from Monday morning at 5 a.m. till Friday night about 11 p.m. We don't really operate on the weekends unless there's some special contingency with weather or something like that. We do have a small amount of delivery routes that run out of there on Saturday, but most other operations are just the Monday through Friday.
Peter, can we kind of get to the heart of the matter? I mean, we know they need more parking, it's permitted.
Okay.
Let's just, why do they need more parking? Let's get to the bottom line.
Let's go.
The history is wonderful, but.
Why do you need the additional parking?
Yeah, so we essentially have insufficient parking at the site. We actually rent an alternate site from the soccer center behind that gives us some ability, some extra parking, but we have a tremendous amount of congestion there with all the growth that we have had, and we just don't have sufficient parking to service everybody that's there.
Okay. Just one last question. In addition to the 200 employees that you have there, obviously you park your trucks there also. How many trucks do you keep on site?
Yeah, we have 62 routes that run out of that building, so we have roughly 68, 69 trucks. So we have that parking in addition to all the employees that service that site that creates all that congestion.
And how many employees are there again?
About 200. The majority of those work during the same hours during the day, so that's really where we have the peak time is kind of the 9 to 5 type
Okay.
operation.
I have no further questions.
Questions from the board for this witness? Okay.
Mr. Thompson?
Good evening.
Raise your right hand. Solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Name and address for the record, please.
My name is Brad Thompson. The address is 35 Technology Drive, Warren, New Jersey.
Mr. Thompson, you can be seated.
Thanks.
Oh, sorry. What is your occupation?
I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey. Been practicing civil engineering for 11 years.
Are you licensed in the state of New Jersey?
Yeah, licensed in the state of New Jersey.
You're accepted, so we can swear him in. Are you?
Good.
Yes, swear him in.
He's sworn.
Oh, you are sworn, okay. Mr. Thompson, you prepared the site plan, which is the subject of this application,
That is correct.
and you're going to rely on 2 exhibits to testify this evening in conjunction with the application?
That is correct.
Can we have those marked as A1 and A2, and can you describe what the exhibits are? for the
Sure,
board?
I'll throw them up over here if that's all right.
As you're doing that, were they prepared by you or at your direction?
Yes, they were prepared by my office, Bowler Engineering. This first exhibit is an aerial exhibit entitled Aerial Exhibit Plan. It's sheet 1 of 1, and it's been dated August 11th, 2015. And just for the record, north is up on this particular plan. So on this plan, we have this.
Let's mark A2 also, so we can,
Oh, sure, no problem.
and what is A2?
So A2 is a renderized version of the site plan, the sheet title Site Plan, sheet 4 of 11, and it's dated August 27th, 2015.
Okay, and this was also prepared either by you or by individuals under your direction?
That is correct.
Okay. Can you, and also before you're familiar with the zoning ordinance of the Township of Franklin?
I am, yes.
Okay. Can you describe the subject property and also the area surrounding the subject property?
Sure, for that, I'm going to refer back to Exhibit A1. The subject property is highlighted in yellow on this plan. It is in the M1 Light Manufacturing District, and the surrounding uses to the north, south, east, and west are also in the M1 Light Manufacturing District.
Okay. And at the present time, what is located on the property?
Currently, there's an existing facility, warehouse building. It's 1 story as well. There's also associated parking and walkways.
Okay. And approximately how many parking spaces currently exist on the property?
Currently on the property, there are 99 spaces.
Okay. And I assume you've been to the site on more than one occasion in doing field work to prepare your plans?
That is correct.
And when you go to visit the property, can you describe what the parking situation is in and around the subject property?
Sure. So there's one entrance into the particular facility coming off of Cottontail. There's a guest parking area, and then the trucks are all parked around the periphery of the parking lot. It's crowded. I know, as our applicant testified, there's also a walkway to the west that connects to the athletic facility, and there's some shared parking agreement there that further highlights the need for parking in this area.
Can you go to A2 and describe to the board what we are proposing this evening?
Sure. So on Exhibit A2, just to, again, frame a reference, north on this plan is actually to the right. So what we're proposing is on the west side of the building, we're adding 69 parking stalls. The stalls meet township ordinances. We have the aisle widths, also meet township ordinances and help, the circulation around the site. We're going to continue pulling cars and trucks off of Cottontail into the site. Employees will mostly park in this western side. And there's also a proposed access out onto Memorial Drive to help better circulation.
But the main purpose of this is for the employee parking, and all of the trucks, both deliveries and the route trucks, will primarily use Cottontail, correct?
That is correct. There is the possibility that trucks will pull out onto Memorial Drive sometimes, but it'll definitely not be the norm, especially the larger trucks that enter and exit the site will only use the Cottontail.
Okay. In addition to proposing the new parking lot, we are also proposing some fencing.
That is correct.
All right, can you describe to the board where the fencing is being proposed and why it's being proposed?
Sure. So the proposed fencing starts at the southwest corner of the building, runs west and then along the western property line to the north, and then runs east along the northerly property line, stops kind of somewhere in the throat of the driveway onto Cottontail, and then comes across the frontage and ties it back into the building. The fence, I believe in our application, we called for a 6-foot-high fence, and in fact, we've been talking with our client, and they think they want to move to a 10-foot-high fence, and the purpose for this is safety and security. The first, security, it keeps people out of the site, especially during the evening and weekend hours, and also safety, it has to do with the facility next door is that athletic facility. It's a very active facility. There's lots of people kind of standing on the edge of the fields. We want to keep them separated from this particular facility.
Okay, you also testified, and the previous witness testified, that some of our employees park over at the soccer facility. How will they be able to get to the building if, in fact, you're putting a fence up?
Yes, thank you. There is a man gate here. It's 4 feet wide, and we're proposing to maintain the existing walkway to that athletic facility. And I'll just say for completion here, we're also proposing 2 gates at both entrances,
Okay.
allowing.
And the gates will be down when the facility is closed, but the rest of the time they will be open so that vehicles can come in and out of the site freely. Is that correct?
That is correct, and each gate will also be equipped with a Knox box to allow emergency vehicles, that kind of thing, to get into the site for emergency purposes.
Can you just briefly touch on what lighting we're providing around the new parking lot?
Sure, there's 3 light poles, each with 2 fixtures. They're Philip Gardco fixtures, which they're 400-watt pole start metal halide, which is pretty modern fixture. They're located 25 feet up on the pole, and they distribute light into the surrounding parking areas and the throat of the proposed driveway here to promote safety in parking.
Okay. In addition to the change with the new parking lot, are we making a minor modification to the existing parking lot?
That is correct. There's also, to meet ADA requirements, currently 1 ADA stall exists on site. And as part of this application, we're adding an additional 5 for a total of 6 ADA stalls in the area along the front of the building.
Okay. Now, you testified that originally or currently there are 99 parking spaces on the subject property. If this project is approved, how many parking spaces will be available?
There will be 167 spaces total.
Thank you. Now, we're asking for a variance for impervious coverage. Obviously, we're adding more blacktop. What is being done regarding the management of the stormwater that is generated from this parking lot?
Sure. So this new facility is going to have 3 new inlets to collect all the stormwater from the proposed lot. Those will then flow to a filter structure that meets NJDEP requirements for water quality standards, and then that will flow into an underground basin composed of underground pipes encased within stone. They'll be perforated to allow water to kind of take up the whole volume of that area, and then that will eventually discharge to the west to a depressed area, which ultimately flows out to Randolph Brook.
And as far as runoff from the site as a result of this new impervious coverage, will it be at the same rate as it currently runs off the site, or will it actually be less because of the new stormwater management?
So based on these particular features, we're reducing the 210 and 100-year storm peak flows to meet NJDEP criteria. So there will be, the peak flow will be less leaving the site in the proposed condition.
Thank you. One last question. Are we proposing any new landscaping?
Yes. As part of this project, we're proposing 3 new trees, red maples, to kind of complement the existing landscaping along the frontages of Memorial and Cottontail. And then we're also proposing 16 juniper bushes to help shield lighting from these cars shining, again, down Memorial Drive.
Have you had an opportunity to review the staff reports that were generated in conjunction with this application, in particular the engineering report of Mr. Vega dated October 1st, 2015?
Hey, Peter, there's a few things in Mr. Vega's report that I definitely want you to hit on, but can we take Mark's first?
Sure.
I mean, I think you've addressed everything. I just want to ask Mark if there's anything on your comments that you need additional clarification on?
No, I think they've addressed all of them. One comment, really the one question I had was is there a shared parking agreement with the adjoining soccer facility?
There is.
And that's why you're proposing the connection between the two?
That is correct.
Okay. That's really it. And I know Julio does have a number of comments that the applicant should address.
Yeah, and there's a couple that I particularly caught my eye. I just want to note that the Environmental Commission is against additional impervious coverage, and while we all are, Mark's comments make it clear that he thinks there's a benefit to addressing the parking that outweighs that. So, Peter, sorry to interrupt. So, back to Mr. Vegas then.
Okay.
Is there, first of all, is there anything you particularly want to discuss with the board?
I want to ask the question, can we comply with all the comments in the report?
We can, yes.
And we are willing to comply with all the comments?
Yes, we are.
Okay. So if any of the board members have any specific questions concerning those comments, rather than me go through them, I think it probably makes more sense if you ask your questions, and I think that will move the meeting along.
The couple that caught my eye were, of course, the tree removal plan, and whether or not that you would need to remove additional trees in the swale, and whether that would require additional landscaping.
Sure. So to address that question, we're removing 10 trees from the swale area. By ordinance, we're required to replace 10% of those removed, so that would require 1 tree. We're replacing with 3 just to kind of help in that case where if any more trees need to be taken down.
Okay, you probably don't, do you have any room for additional?
Additional trees in the immediate area of the site. Right now, we're only disturbing about an acre of this 7 or so acre lot. If we did put more trees in elsewhere, it would require more disturbance.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they did do the calculations, but if there is some tweaking to them, they could do that. And then if you look in the site, all of that green is grass, so I'm sure they can place an additional tree or 2 somewhere on the site.
Yeah, I'm just going by comment 28 where it says they didn't provide, they need to provide a tree removal and replacement plan, but
Yeah.
it sounds like they did do the calculations. The other comment that caught my eye was number 34 on the stormwater management comments. So, that goes to your testimony about the way the stormwater is going to be handled and whether that system is indeed relying on permeability of the soil.
It is not. We did permeability tests out here, and while there was some percolation, we chose not to include that in our calculations. It's strictly just storage within the stone in the pipe, and all discharges running out the outlet pipe.
Okay, well, that's good, because it appears that there's not a whole lot of permeability in there.
Right.
Those are the two that probably caught my eye the most. You're saying you can comply with any others, so I'll leave it up to the other members of the board if they want to address anything.
Question, Mike? For additional landscaping, would you be able to put landscape islands at the end of the center parking areas instead of striped?
We'd prefer, because of the nature of the facility, it's an industrial facility, first for just ease of ingress and egress for some of the larger vehicles, as well as for snow plowing in the winter. We try to avoid curbed islands. In that instance, we see them typically get damaged in those scenarios.
As far as your underground detention facility, to comply with township standards, you're going to have to add additional access maintenance manholes to the
That's correct.
ends?
Yeah, we saw that, and we will comply with that. That is acceptable.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah. Oh, Ted, please.
Yeah, I was wondering about some things about your stormwater detention and release. When the water is released, where does it go? Where is this swale that's mentioned? It was not clear on the plans.
Sure. The swale is located at the southwest corner of the property. There's a pipe that comes from Memorial Drive, and then there's a head wall on our site that then discharges into a swale that's approximately 100, 120 feet long, and then that enters back into another head wall, and that ultimately runs out to Randolph Brook. And that is actually all within a county drainage easement. So we're discharging into that particular depressed area, and it flows out.
Yeah, well, where does it flow out?
Randolph Brook.
Yeah, it goes out to.
Well, that's the ultimate destination, but is there a swale on your property or a swale on the soccer field property?
Sure,
or?
it's a swale on our property. It's at the southwest corner, and it's in this kind of heavily wooded area. The depression's about 5 feet down, and it carries the water from the basin out to Randolph Brook.
Well, yeah, Mr. Vega commented, and I'm feeling the same way myself. He says, number 19 here, provide clarification for the existing stormwater conveyance system where the detention basin will discharge into via 15-inch diameter pipe and scour hole. It is not clear the direction which the swale is draining, in particular the invert elevation of the left head wall versus the right head wall would indicate a flow direction of left to right, but the invert elevation of the FES of the 36-inch ECMP would indicate a flow direction of right to left. And the description you just gave, it sounded as if there's a flow from the end of Memorial Drive there toward the sump, but then the description you just said sounded as if it flowed the other way. So how does it get to Randolph Brook?
Understood, and I can walk through that. The region we know, based on USGS maps, flows from south to north towards the Randolph Brook. Currently, the county drainage facilities are older facilities. They've been there for a while, and we did notice that there must have been some settling during the years that it's been in service, and it is slightly back-pitched, the pipe leaving the site going to the north towards Randolph Brook. It's it's a minor issue, and it's essentially it's not going to affect any of our drainage design or how that water flows out of there, because the inverts of those pipes are so much deeper than our facilities that we're proposing.
So it is a pipe heading in the direction of Randolph Brook,
It is, yes.
not a swale.
It's only a swale for about 150
Just
feet.
that, from Memorial Drive to the Scour Hole.
That is correct, yeah.
Yeah. Now, the Canal Commission comments question, why don't all of your inlets then run to the filter facility? It is suggested that only one of the three did.
Sure, I can comment on that. We have 3 inlets that go into the filter, and then there's another one on site that does not. And as part of meeting the DRCC requirements, we'll be modifying that so that they all do flow through filters and meet those requirements. We were trying to do a balancing, which is seen in some areas, but the DRCC wants us to comply with their rules exactly. So.
Yeah, well, you want to have the runoff cleaned up before it goes to the brook.
Yep,
All
and
of it.
that is the intent of the design, and we'll be complying with that letter.
Now, the entrance to the parking lot from Memorial Drive, where you have it, it requires taking out some trees. And I wondered if you couldn't put it further to the right on the parking lot, on the right as you face it from Memorial Drive, and thus avoid taking out the trees that you would be taking out for your current description.
If we move the entrance driveway, it may save a few trees, but we're still going to be, the main impact is really along this corridor on the southwest corner of the parking lot that runs parallel to this depressed area. To help mitigate the impact to that area, we are proposing a retaining wall, a short wall there to prevent the slope from taking out more trees. But we feel aligning this particular driveway with Memorial Drive is the safer option.
Well, it's running into Memorial Drive at right angles wherever you put it.
That is true, but in the condition here, Memorial Drive heads west and then it turns south. And we're trying to align it as best we could with that north-south corridor of Memorial.
No, I thought it just ended there at the soccer facility.
There is, I don't know if it's a public roadway or not, but there's definitely a road that heads to the south.
Well,
Well, on that topic, Julio had a question as well on the location of the driveway, not related to trees, but related to whether that's actually the best location for the driveway, considering that there's a driveway for the soccer facility just to the north, and then the location of your proposed driveway doesn't actually line up with the bend in Memorial. It's actually slightly offset.
It is.
So you basically have kind of 2 driveways and then another, and it's just going to be a lot of activity, around that bend. So you have a sharp 90-degree bend with 2 driveways going into it. So could you explain from a site circulation perspective in terms of cars and tractor trailers why you put it in that location as opposed to maybe, as the councilman just said, further down to the right?
Sure, excellent question. The site circulation, the reason the driveway is there, it's definitely the optimal choice from a site circulation perspective. Vehicles can come in and exit without having to navigate an S-turn through a parking field. If we were to relocate it further east, it would then kind of disrupt that flow, especially for some of the smaller trucks. Like I said before, any large, articulating tractor trailers will only be using this entrance, but we do have the route trucks. They're SU-30s, 30 feet long, a decent-sized truck coming through here, and this will help facilitate their, ingress and egress. And secondly, the route trucks, they all kind of come together, as our applicant testified, and said, they leave around 7 a.m. and kind of the main traffic coming in and out of this site should not conflict with the soccer field operation.
So you said, so the tractor trailers are going to come in from the other entrance?
From Cottontail.
And they're going to exit
And they're going to exit.
So they're going to go in, go to the loading zone,
Yeah.
and go back
It's
out?
what makes the most sense, because this is where the main loading area is on the northern side of the building, and they'll pull in and pull out.
Okay, because it seems like Julio's main concern was exactly that I think his concern was tractor-trailers using the exiting off of Memorial.
Right, and that is not the intent of that driveway. You know, our site operations person can testify to that fact.
Okay.
How often will the filters be checked?
The filters are required to be inspected every 6 months and serviced every year or two, depending on how clogged they are. And
In the wintertime, when there's snow and ice in the parking lot, I mean, I've seen snow plows in parking lots plow and pack snow and ice very high over storm sewers. Is there any way to make sure that that won't happen with these drainage?
the piles of snow will likely still occur when they push you know, everything to one side or the other. But the way these filters work is that when that water melts, it'll carry all the sediment and brown stuff in that snow to the filters. And as that water is moving through the filters, it'll filter that stuff out, and it won't get into Randolph Brook or any of the other surrounding areas.
Unless they're clogged with snow and ice. I mean, if it's been pushed on top of the drains.
Yeah, the filter, I'm sorry, is located underground. It's in its own chamber. There's only water in there during certain periods. It doesn't. It's not going to freeze solid.
No, I didn't mean that. I meant on the
On
parking lot surface. If there's snow and ice parked on top of the drain.
On the inlets, yeah, I got you.
And then that's going to create runoff going into the neighboring
Sure. So
property.
there's 3 inlets, like I said, and they're kind of located in the general center of the parking field. So when they plow that area, we kind of left this area open again for kind of snow plow operations, and just the way that this would typically be plowed, that shouldn't occur. We're not going to have piling of snow on inlets.
Okay.
And they'll be required to inspect it quarterly, not every 6 months per township ordinance.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, just a few more quick questions. With regard to the access issue we just talked about, would you object to having some signage directing tractor-trailer traffic to the entrance that was discussed?
Not a problem.
Okay. The 66.1% impervious, does that include the stone that's mentioned in the engineer's report?
The 66.1 does not include that. We did a separate calculation to include that after we received your letter, and that would bring the total to 66.5%.
66 points. So if you're seeking that variance, that's
That
the
is the
amount that
variance
you're
we'd be seeking.
Okay. And I had one more question. Oh, just overall, just to sum up the stormwater, there are a number of technical comments on the stormwater, some of which we went over. You reviewed them.
Yes.
Is there anything in here that in complying with these comments would change the layout of the site plan that's being presented to the board right now?
It would not change the layout. Certain comments in there would change some of the underground features and rerouting of pipes, but as the plan looks from the surface, it would not change.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yeah, and to that point, I think that the testimony has highlighted the need for them to, go back and make those clarifications on the plans, so that everybody knows which direction things are moving.
Just for the record, we reviewed them, we understand we had to make them, we got the DRCC comments. We didn't want to revise the plans once and then have the board impose additional changes. So once the board imposes their conditions, we will make a final submission with all of the changes. And quite frankly, as I think Mr. Healy asked, we can incorporate all of those changes, and it will not affect what you're looking at on the ground.
Mr. Chairman, that was my question. On the DRCC report on page 3, it says that the proposed stormwater management measures will not provide enough peak flow attenuation. So you're saying that whatever changes that we don't know about right now, you will change to meet?
That is correct, yes. And just to clarify, that change will require a little more pipe being added to the underground basin to make that work because of different porous ratios and things like that being requested. So we will comply fully with all those comments, and it will not affect the site layout.
Larkin, you had a question?
I do. Mr. Lanford, is there going to be a proffer with regard to the positive and negative criteria to support the impervious coverage variance?
Well, I normally would retain a planner to present the testimony, quite frankly, based on the review comments of Mr. Healy, who is a fairly esteemed planner. He sort of in his report clearly indicated that this is a flexible C variance, that the benefits outweigh the detriments for the grant of the variance for the impervious coverage. In addition, the testimony of both the representative of Nestle and the site engineer concerning the issue of the traffic or the parking problems in and around that area and the elimination of those, as well as the reduction of water flowing off the site, I think meet all of those negative and positive criterias.
See any detriment to the zone plan or the zoning ordinance if the impervious coverage variance is granted?
I will ask Mr. Thompson if he feels that there is any detriment to the zone plan by the grant of the variance.
I do not. I think the benefits wholly outweigh the detriments.
Thank you.
Any other board questions? So if not, we can open to the public.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that the meeting be open to the public for a hearing on this application.
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, this meeting is now open to the public for any comment on this particular application.
Mr. Chairman, seeing no comment or anyone coming forward, I would move that this public hearing be closed.
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Peter, brief summation if you want.
Very brief. As I indicated in response to Mr. Clarkin's question, it is apparent that there is a public benefit to granting this variance. We have a company that's been in the community for 28 years, employs a lot of people. Although it is busy and different than most companies in that their truck drivers come at 7 o'clock in the morning and the trucks are gone all day. They come back at the end of the day, and the parking has been a problem. They have been a good corporate citizen, and really this plan is to address a need that they have, but also address, a parking problem in the area. I think the plan is a logical, rational plan, and I would respectfully request that the site plan be approved and that the one variance that we are seeking be granted. And I thank the board for their time and their attention this evening.
Thank you.
Just real quick for the record, Vince's report does mention that there are
Right.
existing conditions
There's
with
just
regard to the
setback
building, which
Yeah.
is not being changed in any way. so-
None of those are being changed, that's correct.
But they just need to be memorialized,
I
think.
would
That's
assume,
standard practice when you
Fine.
need to clean it up. And again, it's not changing or being exacerbated or whatever.
It's
in
the
any way.
pre-existing condition.
yes.
Okay, with that, we'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the application.
Mr. Chairman, I would second.
You had something to say, Councilman?
Oh, I just wanted to say, I think with regard to the negative criteria, what you should have said is that since there's little or no percolation on the site anyway to groundwater, then the variance for excess impervious surface really doesn't make any difference, isn't a negative.
I have a hard enough time trying to be a sometime planner. I don't want to try to be a sometime engineer.
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Mr. Howe.
Yes.
Ms. MacGyver.
Yes.
Mr. Mettler.
Yes.
Mr. Onyaka.
Yes.
Mr. Thomas.
Yes.
Mr. Potasnik.
Yes.
Chairman Orsini.
Yes.
Thank you, and for the record, my client did not require that I drink his water this evening.
All right. Well, you'll probably have that bottle finished by the time we're done.
Thank you.
So, Peter, I know you're handling the next one, actually two together, really, right?
Technically three.
Oh, well, I only have two on here, but whatever the case may be. The Canal Walk Associates, so PLN 14-00013 and PLN 15-00004. one for the 64-lot subdivision, one for the 3 apartment buildings, and if there's a third, you'll have to tell us what that is, but,
The third is the change to the general development
Oh, the
plan,
GDP,
which
yes.
incorporates both.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, again, Peter Lanford appearing on behalf of the applicant. There are 3 parts to this application. The first is the construction, it's a subdivision application for the construction of single-family residential dwellings, age-restricted, on the corner of Metlers and Schoolhouse. The second application involves a site plan for the construction of condominiums, which are a continuation of the enclave, which is a section of the existing Canal Walk. Those units will be constructed to the right side as you're entering the subject property. There is also a request to amend the general development plan. What I would like to do, and I think it probably would make more sense, as I started to go through this file, we started with the original general development plan in 1998. I think the only 2 remaining board members, as I saw in the resolution from 1998, were Dr. Chase and Mr. Thomas. But I think for the benefit of the members of the public, as well as the other members of the board, I think the background and what the general development plan says and what we're changing is sort of important so everybody understands what we're doing in context of that. Back in 1998, we submitted a plan to develop basically 300 acres for an age-restricted community. We started by submitting a general development plan, which was a plan that said we want to build a certain type of housing mix. It talked about the requirements that we have to provide open space, active recreation. We had to provide certain other improvements. And that plan was adopted by the board in 1998. In 2003, the applicant acquired an additional 13 acres, and amended the general development plan at that time to incorporate 13 additional acres, which are currently being constructed on, and if you go to the property, they are along Schoolhouse Road, as you're approaching the canal. Under the original approval, there was a density requirement or allowance of 4.3 acres, 4.3 units per acre for the original project. The township amended the zoning ordinance between 1998 and 2003 and changed the density from 4.3 to 3.8 units per acre. When doing the calculations for the general development plan and the amendment, we used both the 4.3 number and the 3.8 number. The total units that are allowed under the original general development plan and the revised GDP are 1,279 units. In addition, the original general development plan provided that the applicant had the right in the parcels that are being developed or proposed to be developed as a result of this application to build a commercial component to this facility, And we're also allowed to build what were called congregate care and assisted living along Schoolhouse Road. As a matter of fact, and I don't have the date, there was an approved site plan for the commercial development at the intersection of Metlers and Schoolhouse. Obviously, when a related company of the applicant proposed a shopping center on the other corner as part of the Summerfields project, it was felt that this commercial development would not be necessary, and that commercial development would service both of those communities. There is no mandatory requirement to construct any commercial development. The ordinance sets forth parameters, and the commercial was between 0 and 5%. As part of the application, and why I'm going over this also, is that this is sort of the finish line after all these years. And we had many benchmarks to meet. And this final development plan really goes into and covers that we have in fact met all of those benchmarks. We were supposed to provide a clubhouse based on 14 square feet per unit, taking into account all of the units that have been constructed, that are proposed to be constructed, and these two new projects, our requirement under your ordinance was for 17,500 square feet of clubhouse. For the record, we have constructed 2 clubhouses with the total square footage in excess of 35,000 square feet. There was also, as required by your ordinance, that we have open space in providing the calculations in the general development plan. This project will have a total open space of 107 acres or 36%. We actually, in fact, deducted out, there's a detention basin. If you deduct that out, it's basically 100 acres, and we would be at 35.5%, which is, again, in excess of the requirements of your ordinance. There is also 26.14% of dedicated active open space, which amounts to 8.74%, again, in excess of the requirements of the ordinance. So we are asking, or will be asking at the conclusion of all these hearings, for an approval of the amended general development plan for 2 reasons. One is to demonstrate that we have complied with the original general development plan, and also to set forth the final numbers with respect to this project. In addition to that, we are here, like I said, this evening to seek site plan approval for the units that are known as the enclave, and subdivision approval for the residential units. As part of that, there will also be a relocation of the guardhouse. We will be presenting testimony on that, but unfortunately not this evening because our traffic consultant is not available this evening. And also, we had just had some comments as a result of meetings with the staff, and more information is required with respect to those. My game plan this evening is to call 1 or 2 witnesses, and I'll leave it up to the board. I have here the architect who has prepared the architectural plans for the new buildings. I will represent, and they have been submitted, that they are identical to the buildings that are currently part of the enclave, the only difference being that 2 of the 3 buildings are 2 stories rather than 3 stories. I will be more than happy to call in to describe the buildings if the board feels they desire that information. If members of the public have any questions, we obviously will be able to answer them. With respect to the residential units, I will represent that the lots in question are going to be between 5 and 10,000 square feet. And again, the architect will indicate, and the applicant is going to indicate, that the housing types are the housing types that are currently within Canal Walk. We are not proposing a new housing type. No, everything that we will be building in this section is currently being constructed or has been constructed in other parts of Canal Walk.
You mean model types?
The model types, yes. So I will be happy to call the architect if the board wants to hear from him. If they don't, he will be here to answer any questions if members of the public want to hear from him. I will then also call the site engineer, who will describe both the subdivision plan and the site plan, the gatehouse where it's being proposed, and then at that time, hopefully, we'll take some questions and answer those, and then we'll wrap it up for this evening.
Yeah, that generally sounds fine. I think, from what I understand, right, there's, the two applications have a lot of unaddressed issues, right? That we're going to need to address before we can consider approval. So we're not going to do those tonight for approval, correct?
That is correct. We received staff reports on one of the projects on September 29th, the other part on September 30th. I don't know whether it's a lot of comments that need to be addressed, but there are comments that need to be addressed. Yes, we also had a meeting with your staff earlier this week, so we can get clarifications on those issues. That meeting was rather productive. So even though we're here presenting something, there are some modifications that are going to be made as a result of those comments. So yes, you will not be in a position to have the final drawings or tonight, or be able to vote on these things tonight.
Yeah, and obviously, all in our packets, there's a lot of not satisfied comments that we would hope to see satisfied the next time we hear from you. From what I understand, though, what we can do is grant the GDP approval, which maybe I'd like to focus on. And since we have so much public here, and I know they have comments related to the plans, and I don't want this to go on past anybody's bedtime, most likely mine, what I'd like to do maybe is go a little lighter on the testimony until we get some of these questions issued, rather, these issues addressed, and give additional time to the public that's here within reason to, provide their comments that will help perhaps guide you in that process.
Yeah, I think what probably does make sense is then I call Mr. Hybel so that he can discuss the site plan in general terms.
Yes.
What we're proposing, the lighting, the landscaping, things like that, so that both the board and the members of the public will have a very general understanding of what is being proposed, and I think that will help either answer a lot of their questions or help frame their questions.
I totally agree with that, and we can keep your architect in the bullpen if necessary, in the spirit of the playoffs, I suppose, and,
You haven't seen his arm, we don't want him in the
okay,
bullpen.
no,
Mr. Chairman, if I
maybe
may,
short relief.
two quick clarifications.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned that the Enclave 2 is a condo unit, so it's going to be home ownership like the original, like the Enclave.
Everything is, basically
Same type, same exact building, same unit type. Home
underground parking. The buildings are exactly the same, other than two of them are two-story rather than three.
And then you had mentioned that in the calculation of the permitted density, you had used both the 4.3 and the 3.8. Just to clarify, what you did was, and it's in the GDP, the lands that were in the original approval back in 1998, where by being granted the GDP, you're grandfathered in to that 4.3 unit density, which is 286 acres. You're allowed to count that at the 4.3 unit density. And then the parcel 3, which was the 13.34 acres that was added after the township changed it to 3.8, you used, that calculation was 13 acres times the 3.8. And that equaled the 1,279 units that is permitted on the site as a whole.
Right,
You're
and
proposing 1,251, so as far as, in terms of the overall density, you comply.
we comply yet. The total units after all the build-out of this section would be at 1251.
And
We also netted out, Mr. Hill, and we didn't think we had to. There were a lot of out parcels from the original landowners that were part of the original GDP that they retained their dwellings. Those were calculated in the original acreage. I could have tried to take credit for those acreages and get the 4.3. We did not do that. We netted out all of the out parcels. So when we came up with the 1251 number, we came up with all of the land that is part of Canal Walk and does not include any of the out parcels.
And then just generally, Mr. Chairman, staff has reviewed the GDP, and particularly me, in my opinion, it demonstrates that in an overall sense, in terms of density and permitted uses and the mixture of uses and the overall open space and rec requirements, that they comply. That's not to say that in terms of the site plan and the subdivision,
Right.
there's a number of details to be worked out.
Well, that's what I was
So
referring to.
what I would suggest is, after you hear the comments from the public, if anything else arises with regard to the GDP, you may want to hear if something comes up, then you may be in a position to act on the GDP at the end of the night.
Yeah, yeah. And so, in interest of time and sanity, it's 8:30 now. If you give your general overall testimony from your witnesses between, say, now and 9, 30 minutes should be good. Give a general overview.
Mr. Hybel is nodding his head.
Good. I like that. And then from 9 to 10, we could hear from the public. The ground rules that I'll establish is, 2 to 3 minutes per speaker. We could get probably a number of speakers in that time. Hopefully, your comments will head some off. As you all heard, we're not going to be approving it tonight, so you can come back the next time. But what we hopefully will do is, what I will ask is general comments. Don't like it, don't want it, don't need it, don't want to hear that. Specific, as you just heard, it's allowable under the general development plan, but we have a lot of details that the staff would like to work out. So what I'd like the public to do is maybe help the applicant to understand what it is specifically, and keyword being specifically, that you'd like to see or not see, and to keep it to that. And if a previous speaker has indeed made that point, you can merely say, I second that, and not provide a great deal of preamble, so we can hear the most people we can tonight and get the most production out of it. So, if that sounds okay, go ahead and start.
You didn't factor in a bathroom break, but other than that, it's fine.
Oh, well, if you need that, we can do that.
Okay, Mr. Hybel.
Solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Is that mic on? Name and address, please.
Yes, for the record, Robert Hybel, professional engineer, professional land surveyor, and professional planner, and partner with Van Cleef Engineering Associates in Hillsborough, New Jersey. I will.
And you're licensed, of course, in the state of New Jersey.
Yes, since 1973.
And so you're therefore accepted?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Hybel, you prepared both the subdivision plan and the site plan that are going to be discussed this evening. Is that correct?
Yes, we have.
All right, and I guess we'll start with the subdivision plan, since that's the one in your hand. And I guess we can mark that as A1 after you identify what A1 is for the record.
Yes, this is actually entitled Site Plan Exhibit. It's dated today, and it actually encompasses both applications, the single family on the right and
Okay.
the site plan on the left.
Mr. Hybel, who prepared it?
Van Cleef Engineering Associates, and I signed it.
Under your direction?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Hybel, as I indicated in the opening, there really are two parts to this application. One is the subdivision plan. Can you briefly indicate on A1 where the subdivision is, the approximate amount of acreage that is involved in that part of the process, and the number of units that are being proposed?
Yes, the single-family subdivision is on a 19.2-acre tract of land. The proposal is to place 63 single-family dwellings, smallest lot being about 5,500 square feet, largest lot being slightly over 10,000 square feet, in compliance with the bulk standards of the ordinance.
Okay. And how is access provided to that section?
The access that's provided is an access almost directly opposite the existing gatehouse location along Canal Walk Boulevard.
Okay. And in looking at the plans, there is a single loop road that services those 63 units?
Yes, there is, and the stem that actually goes out to Canal Walk Boulevard, there's a landscaped island in the center.
Okay.
So therefore, it meets the RSIS standards.
Okay. And around those 63 homes, will there be any landscaping and/or berming provided similar to what has been provided along Metlers Road at the present time?
Yes, we will provide a landscape berm varying about an average of 6 to 8 feet in height, plus the landscaping, which will also extend along Schoolhouse and Metlers. And then there'll be additional landscaping between the dwellings, the proposed dwellings, and the existing Canal Walk Boulevard.
Okay, and I don't want you to go into every species. We're talking about putting trees and also shrubs within,
Trees, shrubs, and a combination of evergreens.
okay.
So in essence, it would look like what was contiguous with what's already on Metlers Road.
That is the intent.
Okay. And that 19 acres, as I talked about in the GDP, originally was part of what was going to be the commercial development and also some of the either assisted living or congregate care units, correct?
Yes, it was.
Okay, and obviously those things are now going away. Now, all of those units, just like the rest of the units within Canal Walk, will all be serviced by public utilities, is that correct?
Yes, there's public sewer and public water available.
Okay. How is stormwater management going to be handled for those units?
There's a smaller existing detention basin that is on the opposite side of Canal Walk Boulevard. What we've done as a combination for stormwater for both these 63 single families and the 62 units in the enclave is enlarge that basin in compliance with the current stormwater regulations.
Okay. And this is an existing pre-approved detention basin, correct?
Yes, for a smaller capacity than
Right.
we're proposing.
And as a result of this application or these applications, that detention basin has to be expanded and also has to be brought up to newer standards?
Yes, it does.
Okay. And how does the water get from one side of the road to the detention basin?
There is storm sewer piping from the single-family area crossing Canal Walk Boulevard.
Okay. And obviously, as in the rest of Canal Walk, there will be street trees proposed along the new road that we are proposing?
Yes, there's a landscape plan, but they're shown on this site plan conceptually. Yes.
Okay. And what is the cartway of the new road that we are proposing?
It's the same as the other roads within Canal Walk Boulevard, which is 28 feet in width.
Okay. Now, taking us to the other side of the street, the other side of the street being Canal Walk Boulevard, we are proposing to construct 3 buildings, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and what is the acreage of that parcel?
The gross parcel area is 9.64 acres.
Okay. And as I indicated, 2 of the buildings will be 2-story buildings?
Yes, the 2 buildings that are proposed closest to Schoolhouse Road are 2 stories, and the L-shaped building is proposed as a 3-story building.
Okay. How is parking going to be handled for those buildings?
It's a combination. Each of the buildings has parking internally within the basement area, and also there's parking along the 28-foot wide accessway, driveway.
And how many parking spaces are being provided in that section?
There's actually more than required by ordinance.
Which
I
means
don't remember the exact number.
But it is RSIS and ordinance compliant?
Yes, actually, I believe the township requires approximately 1.5. I believe that it should be about 2.0. I increased the number.
Okay. And again, talk to the board and the members of the public. How do you get to those 60-some units?
There's a driveway, the 28-foot wide driveway, which accesses Canal Walk Boulevard.
Okay. Can you point out on the plan where the current guardhouse is?
just north of our proposed access from the single families.
Okay. As part of the plan, we are also going to be relocating the guardhouse, is that correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Now, as I indicated in my statements, we had certain meetings with the municipality, there's certain details that we have discussed concerning operations of that guardhouse, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And those have not been solidified as of yet.
Yes.
And we do have a traffic consultant who is working with you with respect both to the design and to the functionality of that guardhouse.
Yes, what I also did was on January 29th, I actually did 2 hour-and-a-half presentations to the Homeowners Association. There was almost 300 people at each of the meetings, and we took the comments. This is prior to doing the design, and we actually took the comments from the Homeowners Association. I was there as well as a representative of the applicant and our traffic consultant.
All right, and just for this evening's purpose, because at the next meeting, we will be giving more details concerning the gatehouse. Where is the new gatehouse being proposed?
The new gatehouse, which has actually moved on 3 occasions now. But the proposed gatehouse is just north of the access from the Enclave 2.
Okay, and approximately how far is that gatehouse from Schoolhouse Road?
About 160 feet.
Okay. Now, can you speak to the topography, or let me back up. You talked about the landscaping around the single-family residential dwellings. Are we proposing any landscaping and berming around the condominiums?
Yes, they're also shown conceptually on this plan.
Okay, and generally, what is going to be the landscaping and berming?
Same type, deciduous trees, evergreen trees. We don't have the ability from Schoolhouse to provide an 8-foot high berm, but we have a lower height berm within that area, which on top of that is some additional landscaping also.
Okay. As to the issue of view sheds, can you indicate what the topography is from Schoolhouse and its relationship to where the units are being constructed?
Yes, actually, Schoolhouse is higher than the ground just south of it where the Enclave is, and it continues falling down towards the stream corridor. In effect, part of the 9 acres and part of the 16 acres also, the southerly portions of both are in an existing conservation easement that was given to the DNR Canal Commission at a prior application.
Okay, and that conservation easement is not being changed, impacted as a result of this application, other than I think there's a crossing that needs to be done?
Yes, there's one crossing for the stormwater detention basin, and at the westerly end of building number 3, if needed, and this goes into the additional comments, we may need a temporary grading easement from the Canal Commission, and if we do, we will return to the Canal Commission with that request.
Okay, and those are permits or approvals that we would need from the Canal Commission that are normally or routinely granted in applications of this kind?
Yes.
Okay, and obviously, if there's going to be any disturbance as a result of that, we would have to restore the property after the disturbance, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and generally where we are proposing the disturbances, what is there now? Is it a wooded area, or is it just?
No, actually, that's an open space area without vegetation currently within it.
So if we had to make a minor disturbance in either of those 2 areas, it would not result or involve removing of any trees of any kind?
The one outlet to the detention basin may disturb a few trees, but we will discuss that with the Canal Commission.
Okay, thank you. Now, obviously, you have to provide with respect to the condominium units, stormwater management.
Yes.
Okay, that's also going to be done with the existing basin?
Yes, it will be.
Okay, so the modifications that you are making to the existing basin take into account both sides of the road and all of the improvements, both roadway improvements and dwellings and everything of that nature.
Yes, when we started the application, it was just for the 63 single families, so I actually had expanded the basin for a smaller design, only for the single family. Then we also submitted the Enclave 2. I went back to the Canal Commission, expanded the basin again, so now the basin's been enlarged to take into account the additional stormwater from both of the projects, Enclave 2 and Canal Walk 3.
Okay, and just so it is clear on the record, all of the street lighting and all of the other lighting that is required both by ordinance is going to be consistent with what is already within Canal Walk. None of anything that we're proposing here is introducing anything new into the development.
In fact, even the landscaping, I didn't want to invent the world. I took the plans that were previously approved by the township for the other sections of Canal Walk and implemented those, or tried to implement those in these plans, subject to the comments that we have now from Mr. Vega, which we will comply with.
And again, I don't want to go into them this evening, but we did receive both planning comments, engineering comments, comments from the fire department, and as a result of those comments, we did have a meeting with the township staff earlier this week to discuss those comments, did we not?
Yes, and I considered their one threshold comment, and that's been implemented in this exhibit already.
And what was that threshold comment?
The plans that were submitted had a hammerhead cul-de-sac, which was designed by our traffic consultant at the end of the street for Enclave 2. And secondly, when we submitted the application originally, there was no secondary access out to Schoolhouse Road. The comment is that the township would like a 24-foot wide paved access, secondary access for emergency services only, and we will provide that. Secondly, we would need a 43-foot radius cul-de-sac to be placed at the end of the driveway and take out the hammerhead. I've examined it. We have enough room to do that, and we will implement that in any of the revised plans.
Okay, and those comments were generally raised both by the fire officials and the engineering department for the issue of access by emergency vehicles to that new section.
Yes, it was in his October 2nd report.
Okay. And again, when we come back the next time, what you're showing on that exhibit has not been shown on any of the previously submitted plans. We just marked that up this evening so we can demonstrate that we can address those issues and provide the safety around those buildings. Is that correct?
True.
Now, just to make it perfectly clear, the access to that section of the enclave will still be internal. That other driveway that is being proposed out to Schoolhouse Road will be a chained driveway only to be used for emergency vehicles. There's not another method of ingress and egress to that section of the community.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Real quick on that matter, as far as the hammerhead versus cul-de-sac. Obviously, you're presenting this somewhat conceptually to the board tonight as what you intend to be your solution to the staff comments. Staff hasn't seen this. Basically, when we met with the applicant's representatives on Monday, we basically kind of left with, well, prove it, in terms of how big the cul-de-sac needs to be. The applicant was provided the turning, the radii, so that's something that will have to be in the revised plans and reviewed by staff, engineering, fire prevention, et cetera, as well as some of the other issues that we talked about as far as emergency access to Building 3, fire hydrants, standpipes, personnel access around the building, et cetera. All those details still to be worked out.
Right, absolutely true.
Thank you.
Yeah, and to that point, what I would hope to see when we come back and discuss both of these subdivisions in more detail would be a revised reports from the
Yeah, that's,
staff reports that would, once you, it sounds like a lot of this was just done recently in terms of hammering this out. So once you've reviewed it, provide new staff reports. I'm sure they'll be hopefully not nearly as voluminous as this, because this isn't even unusual for your guys' standards. Because I mean, Peter, you know how long I've been on the board. I don't qualify for the 1998 but it wasn't that long after that. And I mean, normally, you guys, breeze through, and this is unusual, so.
Well, and let me,
But I don't want to delve into that.
I just want to spend a minute, just so I think the audience can understand. Originally, the subdivision plans were submitted in April of this year. There was a set of comments that were issued, and the enclave plans were submitted, I believe it was later, toward the end of the summer. There were reports that were submitted. The plans that were reviewed are a second submission. So although the reports are 13 pages and 14 pages long, there are many unsatisfied items, but there are also many items that what they do is keep repeating them, and they say they're satisfied. So we have addressed many of their comments. What it also invariably happens is when we make another submission, that also generates new comments or questions. So when we got the last set of comments, we got another, when we submitted the last set of plans, we got another 15 or 20 new comments, and that's why we met, because we needed clarification on those. And I'm sure that when Mr. Heibel submits the next set of plans, at least in his mind, he's going to think he's addressed everything, but obviously Mr. Vega or Mr. Healy or somebody else may have new questions or comments, but we will try to make sure that they're all going to be satisfied or as close as satisfied as possible.
Of course, nothing's ever perfect, but I think the key word that I heard used was threshold. So it sounds to me that there were some things that were real showstoppers that might have gotten recently resolved that hopefully will make things smoother.
And to answer your question, Mr. Chairman, yes, the intent is for the applicant to present this tonight, hear from the public. They're going to hear the public comments, they have the staff comments, they're going to submit revised plans, there'll be a new round of reviews, and a subsequent hearing at a date that you'll determine later tonight.
Right, and which will also be open to the public.
Yes.
I'd like to make a comment about the lighting.
Yes.
I appreciate that you want to keep things the same, but in this instance, there's a better technology today. That's LED.
Yes.
That's better for the environment, uses less electricity. Would you consider using LED lighting rather than?
I would, and I will speak to the applicant about that. I just, within the last month, just did that in Montgomery Township on an application, and we replaced the old lighting with the LED fixture.
Very good.
So Peter, we got about 10 minutes to 9, so.
I achieved my goal, so can we take a 10-minute break and then we'll go to questions?
Do you really need a 10-minute break?
I would like a 10-minute break.
Then you shall have a 10-minute.
And then I think what would make sense is we'll swear the architect in also in case anybody has any questions of him, and then
Bullpen, yeah.
then we can.
So 9 o'clock sharp. Okay, we'll come back into session now. So can I have a motion to open the meeting to the public, please?
A motion to open to the public.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
You want to swear the architect in case there are any
Oh, yeah, let's
questions?
do that first, okay.
State your name for the record, please.
Richard
It's on.
You're on. Richard Arsberger, and with Sonnenfeld and Trokey Architects in Homedale, New Jersey.
Raise your right hand. Solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth shall help you God.
I do.
Name and address for the record.
Richard Arsberger, Arzberger, and I'm with Sonnenfeld and Trokey Architects in Homedale, New Jersey.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and just one quick question. Your firm prepared the architectural drawings for the original enclave, did they not?
That's correct.
Okay, and then prepared the drawings for the new section?
Yes.
Thank you. That's 2 questions. Okay.
Okay. So I think we had a motion and a second to open to the public, so all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll start with, hopefully that's on.
I think, is it on?
It is.
It's Leon Carls, 14 Patriots Way, Somerset, and I'm speaking tonight as a member of the Canal Walk Homeowners Association. I have reviewed these plans. I've been looking at these plans now since July timeframe, all the various iterations. I'm pleased to see some of the changes that have been put into place, specifically the egress, that I had asked for that back in July, and the cul-de-sac at the end of this. I have some questions about the cul-de-sac, though. I understand that from Mr. Hybel, it's going to be 43-foot diameter?
Yes, that was determined after we met on Monday, got the size of the fire engines from the fire chief, looked over the data, gave it to our traffic consultant, and he called me yesterday and said 43 feet is what's required.
Okay. Now, I don't know, can I put something in as evidence at this point, or not?
What is it?
It's the actual from the Pierce Fire Department, fire truck manufacturing. It's the actual turning radius for the fire truck at the Elizabeth
Well, I
Fire
don't think
Station.
that's necessary. It's over here. What they're proposing as 43 feet needs to be reviewed by staff, and we will review it to make sure both our engineer and our fire prevention have that turning radius, and we'll make sure that it fits that radius. So
Okay, the
they're
only-
proposing 43, doesn't mean that staff is going to accept it or the
That's right.
board will accept
Because
it.
according to the manufacturer of the fire truck, it requires 48 feet, 11 inches. It's what's called wall-to-wall turn. So
Yeah,
that means-
like I said, that will be reviewed by staff.
Okay. I also had some
Including
questions.
townhouse, right?
Yes.
I have some questions regarding the edge of the building over here. This is a conservation easement. I understand that that's quite tight. Now, conservation easements will grow, so in only a few years, that will be fairly high. Will the fire and emergency personnel be able to get around the buildings?
That was one of the comments that we discussed again on Monday, and we said we would address that and get back, so that's in one of the comments that we will address.
Okay, so that's covered there then. Because it's concerned, it's both this corner of the building as well as along, there's a 6.5-foot drop, I believe, and it's fairly narrow, so will emergency personnel be able to get in there? So that's a question I had for the board. The other question I had is regarding the actual placement of the guardhouse itself. Now, it's been bounced around space-wise. It was 168, 160. It's all a matter of where you measure it from. But the main concern that I have is the stacking of vehicles and the size of the particular one. The plans I saw just the other day now has a 12-foot roadway for the residents, 11-foot for visitors, but it's a funny shape. So the question I've got is, as vehicles try to come in from Schoolhouse Road, will vehicles be able to maneuver this, and will there be appropriate stacking? I do have some sketches that, if I'm allowed to, I'd like to hand out. I don't have enough for everyone.
Sir, my suggestion would be is that the board is fully aware of the issues that you just talked about, because staff brought up those same issues. I would wait, you've brought it to the board's attention, staff has brought it to the board's attention. They're going to submit revised plans in accordance with some of those comments. I think it would be more appropriate to review those instead of starting to talk about it now before the plans are finalized. Everyone's aware of those exact issues. You brought it up in the past, and so is staff, so.
Okay, I believe the staff has seen a presentation I put together.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, over here, Mike, I moved over here. I'm waiting to turn that.
He's just trying to confuse you.
I'm waiting to turn that podium around. I think
10 years you've been sitting there, and now
it's
he's
bothering me.
I thought it was done deliberately, so I couldn't.
Yes, his comments were, they were provided to me. You were kind enough to give me your comments. I distributed them to staff and asked the staff, including engineering, fire prevention, traffic, to consider his comments in their review. A number of his comments ended up being reflected in the staff comments, and those are a number of the things that the applicant, their hammerhead and the access and the queuing at the gatehouse and a number of other issues are also concerns that staff has raised. So I think what Vince is suggesting is, and you're invited, obviously, to, when the new plans come in, review them.
Sure.
Come back to the board and tell the board whether you're satisfied or not as part of the site plan, continuing with the site plan application. What you may want to do, considering that your entire presentation was submitted, are there any kind of big things that you think are not, based on what you've heard, are there any big things that you think are not being addressed here?
The way the diagram is here, it's very difficult to see, but I do have quite a number of concerns as far as the stacking is concerned, and it's very difficult to show on this particular sketch, and I do understand this is going to go back to to the planning, to the professionals, but my concern is traffic turning from Schoolhouse Road on in. Is there going to be adequate staffing? Now, I did speak to Mr. Highball at one point. I'm using a 25-foot front bumper to front bumper spacing, and that's primarily because of the demographics of Canal Walk. I understand that the professional version is 22 feet, but I think that's very light, considering most of our drivers are, I have to put this nicely, we're old. And we tend to be very cautious, so we don't go bumper to bumper. We leave spaces between. So the concern I've got is traffic turning into the visitors space, either east or westbound on Schoolhouse Road. And it's very reasonable to expect that it will block traffic for the residents. I'm also concerned about, and again, we'll talk about this, but we have three roadways, basically three things converging here. Because we have potentially traffic entering or exiting the roadway for Canal Walk, for the Enclave 2. We will have visitors coming in at that particular point, and we'll have the residents coming in all at that same point. So there's a pinch point there. And I'm very concerned about that with the traffic, particularly the weather, because that's a fairly steep hill. If you go out there, you'll see that it's about a 4 to 5% grade coming down from Schoolhouse Road, coming into the gate. And what I would ask each of the members of the board to please do, and I've asked all of the folks from Canal Walk to do the same thing, is to go out there, and there's a manhole cover as you turn off Schoolhouse Road. There's a manhole cover in the middle of the road, or it's a little bit off to the side of the road. That is what is shown on these plans here. There's a little dot. And people have a hard time envisioning what 160 feet is, but when they stand there, they say, wow, this is very, very close to Schoolhouse Road, and I think we are going to have a traffic situation. My concern is, and I know this board a number of years ago did deal with the Dunkin' Donuts on Schoolhouse Road. Most people know that what the situation is there. It's a traffic nightmare. I do not want to see that happen at the entrance to Canal Walk. Thank you.
So, sir, I have a question.
Yes.
Given that, what would your solution be?
What I had originally proposed, and apparently there were some reasons why I didn't understand, I would have swung the roadway down this way, further down in, and moved the detention basins further to the north.
And where would the guardhouse be?
Then the guardhouse would be down right about here someplace, much further down in.
So how many feet from Schoolhouse Road?
It would be approximately 300 feet as opposed to 150, so that gives you much better queuing.
Okay.
Okay?
Mr. Chairman, could the engineer, can you address that? Is that possible in light of various engineering concerns, including the stormwater?
Well, it's a combination, Mark. Our traffic engineer, if he were here, would tell you that in his opinion, there are 7 stacking positions in both the visitor lane and the resident lane. Now, Mr. Crawls, who I know, has a longer vehicle, and he'll tell you that there's 6 and not 7. I'm just repeating. But we did meet on July 20th.
Yes.
And the plan that we have now is a result of that meeting. I said that we could provide 7 of our 22-foot vehicles. And the reason that we didn't put it lower is that if we moved the detention basin up there, we would have a road that would be on the south side of the basin. We couldn't back pitch that into the basin and still have that provide the appropriate stormwater detention. So we wouldn't be able to achieve fulfilling the obligations of the stormwater. So it's a combination of factors. One, that's the reason, but more importantly is our traffic consultant says that this is adequate.
Okay. And I understand, and Mr. Hybel, we've worked together.
Yes, we have.
Over the years, because I was on the zoning board in Hillsborough, so I'm familiar with a lot of these issues. The traffic engineers, it's one thing, they go to a book. We live Canal Walk every day, we know, and I have plenty of photographs taken at random that 25-foot spacing is very, very reasonable. Therefore, at best, you could get 6. And the comment I'd like to make, this is not England. Everyone doesn't get in queue and line up perfectly. right one in a row like ducks. They cut across at different angles, and we will talk again later on, but I do have sketches that one panel truck will block the resident's entrance for a period of time. We know that happens now, and it will happen, I believe, even worse in the future if we go on with this plan.
I have this is a little bit irregular, I guess, for a public meeting, but we're sort of interactive and informal here. So what's the average time a car stays at the guardhouse? I mean, that's a relevant question to how many cars you can accommodate. I mean, we all know how long they stay at Dunkin' Donuts, but, I mean, how long?
I can tell you, I've watched a lot, sorry, Bob. I've watched a lot of traffic. It's not unusual to have 5, 6, 7 vehicles lined up. It's very common.
Yeah.
It's very common.
Mr. Orsini?
Yes. Swear him in.
I think we ought to swear him in, because he's passed comment into testimony. He's giving live testimony, so I think we ought to swear him in.
Okay.
Raise your right hand. Solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Including all of your testimony up to this point in time.
Everything I've said prior to this, for this evening only.
Thank you.
Mr. Orsini, if I may, I think, we've done an analysis, or Mr. Dean has. I think to belabor this evening probably doesn't make any sense. We will have all of that data and information concerning stacking there, what's going on today, and be able to either hopefully answer the questions or at the next meeting, so.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, and I think it's fair to say that, other folks don't necessarily have to come up and reiterate this. I think the board's well aware of it, and in general, I think that it would be advisable to try to, extend that if at all possible. I mean, it just makes sense. And there are going to be engineering considerations, like Mr. Heibel brought up, that may make certain things not possible, and we understand that, but at least you have some guidance, and I think, the board would say that we can sense that concern.
Sure. Just one other comment. I would like to get a clarification of the grade, because I calculate roughly a 6% grade coming in from Schoolhouse Road to the gate, to the actual wind, because part of this has to do with the design of the gatehouse itself, and where is the window, where is this vehicle actually going to stop, roll down their window, and talk to someone inside the gatehouse, because that pushes it that much closer up to Schoolhouse Road. And I believe it's 86 feet at the Schoolhouse Road, and it's 80 feet at the where they said they wanted to have the gate. That's a 6-foot drop in a little over 120 some odd feet. I'm concerned about weather. Again, we have older drivers. They turn, they try to come in. I can see them sliding down into vehicles. The other concern I have is, again, we can talk about this a little bit later on, but the way the design is right now at what I call the pinch point down here, you're going to have to watch the gating, because if our residents are used to reaching up, pushing a button, and going through a gate, and if they do that, they're going to have traffic coming in from the right, from the left, I should say, and this could also have traffic coming in from the side street. So that, to me, is it also just not just the placement of it, but the pinch point there as well.
Yes, I read those comments, and once again, our traffic consultant, once we return, will be able to address those issues.
Great, thank you.
Okay, anybody?
Turn it around.
Next, sir, and that's fine. It's fine.
Just for you, I'm going to turn it back. Every other speaker,
That must
I'm
have
gonna
known.
turn it
I talk a lot, but I won't. I really won't. My name's Alan Wohl.
We're gonna just take a second to swear everybody in. So we normally do that as a matter of practice.
Because we cross the line very easily from questions to testimony.
Oh, I'm not, mine's going to be very short.
Raise your right hand. Solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Name and address, please.
17 Republic Row in Canal Walk, Somerset.
Okay, thank you.
They've taken away most of the things I was going to say. I looked at Mr. Heibel, and Mr. Dean isn't here, or Mrs. Dolan isn't here tonight. But we are really concerned about that gatehouse, and I don't want to go over and over again, but Mr. Lamfert's comment is this is the finish line. Whatever is out there and it doesn't work, the community lives with the developer, these are the last two parcels, I assume, that can be developed. One, on the gatehouse, and since the architect's here, are there any elevations or drawings for the gatehouse? I didn't see any when I went through the plans. No. There are none?
There are none now. We will have them before the next meeting.
Okay. And is there any additional signage that will be there, Mr. Lanford?
Yes, I happen to know this, Alan.
Oh, okay.
I also
Mr.
know
Hunt-
Mr. Wall.
Mr.
I've worked
Hunt,
with him in the past.
Yeah, we're, from the old days.
Yes, the old days. Yes, there will be signage, and we will show that on the revised plans. And the answer is there will be architectural plans for the gatehouse. And to preempt your next question, the gatehouse will physically be expanded, and there'll be a bathroom placed in. So it's going to still fit in the island, but it'll be larger than the existing gatehouse.
Okay. And the queuing and stuff, I assume that'll all wait for Mr. Dean. My only question, and this last one, is there a plan to do any phasing? I assume that you've introduced the GDP amendment, the 63 lot, the enclave.
Alan, can you talk into the mic? I can't hear you.
Yes, okay. I assume you introduced them all those as one
Yes.
organic plan.
Yes.
One is required to be put in. Even the 63 subdivision shows the location of the guardhouse.
Yes.
Is there phasing that we can expect that the guardhouse will be the first thing put in? So that, we know that it's there because the enclave turn is right after it.
The gatehouse will be, yes, Alan, the gatehouse will be put in as part of these two projects and will be the initial thing that will be put in.
Okay. And all the short questions as to notes and so on, I'll leave to the experts from the township to look at and for an expanded discussion at the next hearing.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Merrill Taub, 4 Benjamin Street, 12-year resident of Canal Walk.
Raise your right hand, solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you.
2 comments. If any of you have visited Canal Walk recently, you come in the main road, and in this area, there are townhouses, and we're driving past the backyard of those townhouses. This plan just continues a bad practice. We're going to have about 16 townhouses south of here in this area. Now you're going to do this. So I think I'd like you to consider the whole plan in light of a blemish on the landscape.
What?
That's what it is. The other point I made, and I had presented this to the project manager, who said no because he has enough open space, and I said to him, why don't you think about good planning instead of open space? This area here could be open space. All it does is provide oversized lots for the builder to collect money, but it would be very, very good amenity for the people who live in this house. The open space that's down here is not available to them. And we could, I got some dimensions, you get 180 by 320 feet. You can put access in a couple of points, and you then have a place for people to play with their grandchildren without being out in the street, which is what happens now. So it's an opportunity that is being thrown away, and the builder could recoup his money just from the price of the other lots. So, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, just one clarification on that. And believe me, I've heard the complaints in our office, and I don't disagree. necessarily that the townhomes that are further down Canal Walk are very close to, Canal Walk Boulevard are very close to the road, and, they can present a stark appearance because the landscaping hasn't grown in. I don't think it's accurate to compare this to that scenario. These homes are in excess of about 50 to 60 feet from the road with a landscape buffer in between. So just so the board understands and the public that it is apples to oranges. This is not right on top of the road like those townhomes and significantly further away with buffering.
And it's reverse frontage.
It is the rear of the homes.
So
But
that's a good
it's,
thing.
and, it's single family, meaning so there's going to be gaps. It's not going to be, they're also, it's a different unit type, much smaller buildings too. Those are a neighborhood of 6 to 8 units for each building, so they're much bigger, and I think also taller buildings and much closer to the road. So you'll see them, but it's not going to compare to the townhouse situation.
Mr. Heibel, you just, before the next witness comes up, you just want to maybe tell us what that green space is in the middle and sort of address that one comment?
That's actually some additional lots. That's actually the area of one of the 10,000 square foot lots. So those are individual lots that goes. And yes, we did hear that on the January 29th, and I did bring up that to my client. And it is not his desire to place the open space in the back of that cluster of lots in that area.
But he's done similar things in other areas of the development, where he has these little open space areas in back of lots. You certainly don't need them for zoning.
No, Mark, they're not needed for zoning. He just.
Now, perhaps perhaps you could have that conversation again with your client and revisit that when we meet again.
Ma'am?
Raise your right hand. Solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Your name and address, please.
Dorothy Bertain, 6 Farrington Plaza, a 12-year resident as well. I have several comments. One, could you consider turning lanes off a schoolhouse going into Canal Walk? My concern is we have Summerfields across the street, incredible amount of traffic now on Schoolhouse, and I think it would be safer for the residents if the road, the markings on the road could be reconfigured to allow turning lanes for the residents to get into Canal Walk and out of Canal Walk. Well, from both ends, from both ways. So that's number one. Any problem with that?
We will bring that to the attention of the traffic consultant. I asked him that personally when we started the job, and the answer was that in his opinion, we did not need the turning lanes, but I will re-ask.
Well, if you take a look at Summerfields.
I'm not the traffic consultant.
It's a good question, and when the traffic engineer appears at the next meeting, we'll ask him to address that.
Okay.
And let's not make sure that the next meeting is the first time the traffic engineer hears this. Let's give him a heads up so he can work on this so that we get.
I am writing as they're speaking, and we will get these comments to Mr. Dean.
The configuration of the road by the gatehouse. Right now, the residents have to do a little wiggle to get out, and the visitors can drive straight through. Could you reconfigure it so because we're the residents, there's a lot of us, a lot more of us than visitors, so that the new plan allows us to go straight and let the visitors do the wiggle to get into the development?
Once again, he will address that, but we will re-ask him. The current plan is for 2 lanes. The westerly lane is for the residents, and that's 12 feet wide. The visitor lane is 11 feet wide. But we will re-ask him that question.
Okay. Just want to make sure it's straight. This has to do with the landscaping. I know you're going to reuse the original landscaping plan that we have now. We have a very large herd of deer in our community. Huge herd of deer. They like to eat the landscape that has been planned for our community. It's a huge cost. It's going to be a cost to our homeowners association. The new townhomes that are where they back up on Canal Walk Boulevard, all of that landscaping, I guarantee you next spring is going to be bare. They're going to eat it. So I would like you to rethink the landscaping, at least for this new part, so that you are not using the types of trees that the deer like to eat. So that's just a comment.
No, that's a valid comment, and we'll take that under consideration.
And there are lists, I think Rutgers has a website that identifies whether it's really good deer food, kind of good deer food, or not good deer food.
Yeah, and, here's my suggestion. The deer will eat anything. And
Well, no, that's not true.
no, it is true. I
No,
mean,
it's not.
If it's a pressure winter, they will eat anything. My suggestion, take it or leave it, is what this county does in the parks when they plant new trees, at least single specimen trees. You can't do it with shrubs or anything. You take your chances. But, you just got to get them over the deer's head. So they put a large ring of chicken wire, whatever, fencing around it, so that you're blocked for the first 4 or 5 feet. In a couple years, you remove it because the tree's grown enough. That's the only thing you can do.
Well, if you have-
There's not a deer out there who won't, do you think rose bushes with thorns in them are good? Well, deer do. That's just, it is what it is. Especially when there's a high volume.
Well, I respectfully disagree with that. Then I listened with interest to the last presentation here about the parking lot and the filtering the runoff water. So my question is our runoff water filtered?
It's a different design. I listened to it also. They had a system of piping underneath the parking lot, and they did that because they didn't have the on-ground surface. This is an on-ground surface detention basin. But at the end of the day, we all have to meet the same stormwater conditions for the state of New Jersey. Theirs apparently will in one type of system. Ours will in a surface detention basin.
Okay, so the water that's going into the
Yes.
canal, which is eventually going into our drinking water.
Yeah, I've already submitted. You need to take into account and you need to lower for water quantity, water quality, and groundwater recharge. I've already submitted the plans to the Canal Commission. I have their initial reports. I'm waiting for all the rest of the comments from the township staff, which we now have. I will resubmit the plans again to the Canal Commission, but they've already looked at the stormwater. So the basin will attenuate the flows in accordance with the stormwater regulations.
And the existing basins in our community also comply?
I did not do any of them, so I can't possibly answer that question.
Okay.
Actually, the brook that this detention will drain into goes under the canal and into the river.
Okay, I didn't know that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Raise your right hand. Solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Your name and address, please.
Vikram Bhargava, Vikram Bhargava, 83 Constitution Way in Canal Walk. As a simple-minded engineer, in doing any project, we had to have 3 ons: on spec, on budget, and on time. Now, this is a big project. On budget is the builder's problem. If he loses money, that's his problem. On spec is the future customer's problem. But on time is our problem as a community. If this project goes on for years and years, and we have these construction vehicles, I'm living in a section where this is a reserve. We've been there for 10 months. The storm grates are still covered with plastic, so the water can't get into it. Every time it rains, there's a flood there. Will the builder, if and when this starts, will the builder commit to some kind of a timeline when it'll be finished? I know there can be delays, there are natural reasons, there are business reasons, but to start with, will there be a timeline?
Well, you did mention, right, Mr. Heibel, you mentioned that there's this is all planned as one phase. So
Yes, it is.
What would be your estimate roughly of construction time?
Part of it has to do with, quite frankly, the market and the number of units that he can sell. I mean, he's not going to put up all the units on spec and just have them sitting empty. So I can't possibly answer, but we will consider that and try to address that in our next presentation to the planning board.
We can have a best case and worst case scenario, but something that we can hang our hats on.
But just, Mr. Abel, overall, in terms of the site phasing and sequencing, so you said everything's going to be done all at once, meaning you're going to be putting all of the infrastructure in and the roads in all at once for the subdivision part, for example. You're going to do that all at one time, and then as the units get sold and as the market's responding, maybe the homes may go up individually in the
Yes.
subdivision part. But the large, in terms of the site disturbance and the finished grading, or not finished grading, but the site disturbance and the roads and the infrastructure and all that, that's all going to be done in a somewhat discrete period of time.
Yes, but, and I'd have to talk to him, Mark. I don't know whether he'll do the single-family first, the Enclave 2 first, or both simultaneously. But once he gets in there, he's a client of mine on several other larger projects, and his intention is to get in there and do the infrastructure within that phase. Yes.
Okay.
All I'm requesting is a plan with contingencies.
Thank you.
Neither do I.
Anyone else? Yeah.
Raise your right hand. Solemnly swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Your name and address, please.
Dina Lux, Deana, because last time I was here it was spelled wrong in the minutes. And it's Luchs. I live at 51 Patriots Way. I know that in the past, I believe on January 29th, it was addressed and people brought it to the builder's attention, builder's representative's attention, about having another resident entrance and exit into this community. And I think I noticed it in particular tonight because I came with some people who don't know the area very well, and we went out the back entrance. If there's going to be this construction going on in the front, to me, this just shows that there really is a need for another entrance and exit. I know it's a gated community. I am just saying for residents, there should be something else. We have onto Weston Road, and I don't know, but traveling on Weston Road, there's no lighting on that road. I know it's like a scenic drive. It's my understanding. I've talked to Mr. Healy about it. It's a scenic road, and there is absolutely no lighting on that road. It is very dark. It is narrow. I'm sure some of you have traveled on that road. It is our only other way of getting in and out of our community. We're a huge community, and Summerfields has 4 entrances and exits, or 3, onto main roads. We have that one, and then we have the front of the community. And I live all the way in the back of the community. I just want to know, how come we can't have another just entrance and exit just for visitors? No gatehouse, just gates, clickers.
Residents.
Residents.
I meant just for residents, right, not for visitors.
I was obviously there on the 29th of January. You did bring it up, and the representative from Mr. Heller said that's not part of this application, and there's no intention at this point to have a secondary access.
That's it. Simple? No.
We've discussed that in the office, and looking at the plan, I just don't know where they would put it. They have the one on Metler, on Weston, so then the only other opportunity is along Metler's, and it's all finished homes. So I'm not really sure, and putting one, through this, I don't think that's really going to address the issue.
I will tell you that I beg to differ. I think, first of all, you're saying it's all finished homes. It's not all finished. This whole area has not been built on yet. So this is just a plan. I'm suggesting that maybe, first of all, a lot of people in the community go to Amwell to go towards Hillsborough. If there's an entrance and exit just for residents on Metler's, why can't there be one, instead of maybe a home, an entrance and exit, one home an entrance and exit for residents. I don't understand why that is not possible. And traffic studies aside, you know, you don't, if you don't live there, any traffic control person could say, oh, we don't need this, but I'm sorry, I feel that it's needed.
Yeah, and by finished homes, obviously I meant the areas to the south, you know, that those are all basically done.
Yeah, I understand what you're
As to
saying.
whether the developer would do what you're suggesting, that's for them to answer.
Well, let's just leave that under advisement. I mean, I don't want to take a lot of time because it's not part of this application, but I respect your concerns being heard. Do you have anything else specifically about
Yes.
these two?
Yes, I do.
Let's.
I know that Mr. Healy clarified that what's being called for as apartment buildings are really condominium buildings. Why aren't they being called condominium buildings? There's definitely a difference in definition between apartment buildings, condominium buildings, co-ops. Why aren't they being called condominiums?
I think that's just semantics. I mean,
Yes.
when
What's
I
it
hear
going to
the
be? What's the plan? What's it going to be listed as?
Actually, we prepared, after that first comment came in, we prepared a condominium map for the Enclave 2, very similar to the condominium map for the Enclave 1. So they will be exactly the same type of ownership.
It's going to be registered as a condominium.
Yes, it will be.
Okay. All right.
And the form of construction is, you know, units above in an apartment building, but it's going to be a condo building.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, we have time. Doing well.
Do you mind if I take this out?
You may if you want to.
Want to swear me in?
I do. Raise your right hand. Solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I
Na-
do.
Name and address.
Fran Fountain, and I live at 49 Bayard Road.
You got to put the
that up
microphone
closer,
right
yeah.
up to your mouth.
Yeah.
I live at 49 Bayard Road in Somerset. I'm a taxpayer. Going to have a little fun with numbers, if you don't mind. I stopped in my management office today, and I asked them how many people were now living in Canal Walk. And the number of units sold is in the territory of 900 and some. And when I said, well, how many people is that? They basically said, the best thing to do is to double it. Because there are people who are there who have their children. And there could be 4 people, there could be 3 people, there could be 2 people, and of course 1. And even though we have a lot of condos, I would not assume that 1 is the magic number. It does not seem to be that. We just finished what they call an audit or a census to verify the population. I was wondering if you folks realized how big we were, because we don't realize it. Do you have a sense of the numbers at all?
Yes, it's in the plans.
Yeah, is there a question that you have? I mean, this board's been doing this for a long time as staff.
Okay,
And
well, it's just that
we know exactly, I mean, I'm not trying to be fresh or anything, but.
No, that's fine.
The purpose of this is
I'm just trying to have a
give
little
us
fun here. Right.
Well, the purpose of this meeting isn't to have fun, it's to get to your comments so the board can work with the applicant to get the best development they can. So if you could ask a question or provide some testimony, that will help us do that.
Okay. Most of the units in Canal Walk right now are located outside of the gatehouse, so that the population that goes in and out of there is significantly high, and will probably remain that way. And the reason I'm asking about the numbers is because there are communities in New Jersey, I would say hundreds of them, who have fewer people than we have in Canal Walk at this time. And to me, that was kind of a surprise. I looked it up on Wikipedia. There are communities like Chester in Morris, Avalon down in Cape May. I mean, these are just a few that I'm aware of.
And what's the question?
The point here is that we have a lot of people who are using this gatehouse, and I would really like, this is my opinion only, but I tend to agree with the person who just spoke before me, that it would be really nice to have another entrance and exit to Canal Walk.
you are basically going to have, I think, a build-out number in the neighborhood of more than 2,000 people, because you're almost there now.
Ma'am, you heard what the chairman's prior comment about that, and that's really not the subject of this application.
Would you like
But-
me to sit
but-
down, sir?
No, I don't want you to sit down, but the idea is for you to give new testimony, and the chairman specifically asked at the beginning, if you have a question or want to say, yes, you believe in that.
Okay.
But you're repeating something that the board is keenly aware of, the applicant is keenly aware of, it's not helpful to the discussion.
I
If
think
you
the points that she's getting at is, again, I think it's been raised, which is this is the one main that there's the one out the back, but this is the one main entrance.
Right.
It's a very large community, so you're concerned, and correct me if I'm putting words in your mouth
Thank you, Mr.
incorrectly.
Healy.
But you're concerned that there's a lot of traffic going through this. The previous comment about another entrance.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it relates to the queuing at the gatehouse. And it has been mentioned that the traffic engineer, and the other comment that was made about the possibility whether left turn lanes might be needed or not. I think those are all issues that the traffic engineer should address. They're kind of, the applicant's being given homework to look into these things.
Okay.
And they're going to discuss and have their traffic engineer address these things when we meet next.
Traffic engineer notwithstanding, we will basically have more than 2,000 people in a community which has one way in and one way out on a significantly developed road, Schoolhouse Road, and another way in and another way out without any kind of guardhouse, through a road which I think someone told me it was a scenic byway. And those are my concerns. As far as whether or not there is a way in and a way out, I would like to just call attention to the fact that once upon a time, we were going to have a commercial development at the intersection of Metlers and Schoolhouse Road. And that development is now being changed to a residential development. And I understand that the builder wants the number of units that he has. I don't really know what sizes are. I'm not going to get into how big something has to be. But a gatehouse in the new development would make it possible for people to troubleshoot, see whether or not cars are stacking up on Schoolhouse. I believe that if a commercial development had been in there, there would have been at least two driveways, one in and one out. Maybe I'm wrong.
It was not going to connect to Canal Walk Boulevard. It was going to stand alone, and the access would have been out to Schoolhouse Road. And maybe I think one to Metlers, but it was not going to connect to Canal Walk Boulevard. If that's your question.
My question is, again to numbers, what if 1.5 feet or 2 feet were taken off of each lot that the builder has and the units were slightly smaller? Would there be enough room for an ingress-egress road, just like the one at Delaware Crossing? I have to ask the question, that's all. You can say no, you can determine whatever. I'm just suggesting that 2,000 plus people inside of two roads is maybe not the smartest ingress-egress.
And I think it is, whether the applicant, that's a question that they can answer at the next meeting. I think it does, to some degree, speak to this application, and I think, the traffic engineer is going to have to speak to whether the road as designed, currently designed, is sufficient to meet the capacity for the traffic that's going to result from the development as a whole. And I'm sure his testimony is probably going to be, it's probably going to be that it does. And then his opinion is probably going to be, then therefore we don't need a secondary emergency access. I'm guessing that's going to be his testimony, but nonetheless, I think he needs to provide that and explain it to the board and to the public, and we'll have to see what he has to say.
Well, given that we have a little less than 15 minutes left of testimony time left, let's just table that, and everybody's heard it. And I would say this, though. It's not part of this application. When it comes back on December 16th, it's not going to be part of this application. Maybe the planning can work with the developer, maybe the homeowners association can, but, since it's not part of this application legally, we can't really raise that issue because it's not part of this application. That doesn't mean it can't be addressed. It just, you know.
Mr. Chairman, I guess I do have one question because of the commercial that was originally proposed. While it would not have had any sort of road access, it would have had foot access. So a case could be made that people could go shopping without their cars, which in turn would have cut down the number of trips going in and out of the guardhouse, potentially. And so that is another factor that might be considered, and I would tend to say maybe the whole question of access is more on the table than it would seem to be, because to a certain extent, the absence of any commercial development, the absence of being able to go get an aspirin or do anything else necessitates
that's
more trips going in and out.
Yeah, I think maybe I should clarify that obviously this development is not bordering Weston Avenue. So when I say that it's not part of this application, that isn't. If you want to talk about access and egress through, Schoolhouse or Medlar somewhere within this parcel, I think that is on the table.
Yes, I'd like to address that.
Go ahead, Seal.
Since this seems to be an overwhelming concern, and I can understand it, because I get impatient waiting for an elevator. And this is similar. If you were to take on the bottom right, those 12 houses, move them down so that they're more even with the ones going up along the road, and create a space right there in the middle after the 12 houses, and just have an egress there, a road going out to Metler's Lane that's for residents only.
Yes.
Is that something that's possible?
Are these the 12 houses that we're speaking of?
Yes, move those down
Actually,
closer to the canal
They cannot be.
road.
That line there is the DNR canal.
No, I mean toward,
Yeah, that line right there at the
Right.
back of those lots is the line, the northernmost line of the DNR Canal Commission easement. So I can do a lot of things, but I can't move those houses in that direction.
can you move them along the road?
Smush them.
No, along, not down, but along the road. Is there space there?
In other words, to the left.
To the left?
I think the original suggestion was, could a bunch of the homes on the outside perimeter be made a little bit more narrow, kind of each of them, and then by making each of them a little bit more narrow, create a space, and then that would potentially allow a roadway to go out.
I think it
from
would
that
be much appreciated if we had one other way in and out. It's sort of terrifying to be in a spot where we've got all of these people, and the town is kind of acting like you don't really like us. You want us to go away or be behind closed doors, or I'm just trying to have a little fun here. I want to feel appreciated. I want to feel like I'm a part of the community. And, across the road at Summerfield, I believe they have 900 units, and they already have 4 entrances and exits. 4.
Mr. Chairman. Can I just make one recommendation?
Hold on.
I know they're not
Ed,
gated,
just a
but
second.
it's easier to get in and out, too.
I was just going to say there's 8 minutes.
Bob, Ed,
That's all I was going to say.
and then we're going to move on to the next.
I was initially agreeing with you that this part of the discussion might be, or this might not be relevant to the application, but this application is to amend the general development plan. And the general development plan originally did have the commercial units, and it also had an assisted living section. And together, these new units are about 10% of the total units. And that is changing the dynamics a little bit. Second, when this development plan was approved, there was no Summerfields. There was no thought in the minds of anybody but the developer that there would be a Summerfields. So there was no need to think about, less of a need to think about this issue. So I'm inclined to think that as part of amending the general development plan, that it isn't unreasonable to think of another way to have another entrance. Because there is a little more of a significant change in the area and in the plan itself.
I was just going to suggest that if we only have like 7 more minutes for public comment, I would want to hear from the public, and then maybe the board could speak ad infinitum to ourselves, but we haven't
Yes.
heard from a new person in the public.
Yeah,
for
no,
about
I agree.
some
Let's
time
hear
now.
from a few more folks. I made this a little more interactive. Normally, we don't try to interrupt the public, but I think it's important to have the dialogue.
Raise your right hand. Solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, I do.
Your name and address,
My name
please.
is Lonnie Wooten, and I'm at 45 Bayard Road, and I am a 12-year resident, bought 13 years ago. And when I bought into this, I was, as so were a lot of the people that were here at the time, that we were going to have a wonderful community, and due to our age bracket, etc., we would be able to walk to a little shop and purchase our loaf of bread and our quart of milk or whatever. Well, then all of a sudden, that went away. I mean, the sales office was very good at pitching this little store that we would have up there to go get our things, you know, and being all of the same age group, we were also looking forward to maybe that assisted living place up there, because we would know that, you know, soon we're all going to be there in that place maybe. All right, so there was a lot of good pitching, and that's why so many of us moved into Canal Walk those 13 and 12 and 10 years ago. I wonder how many of you know that, you know, we have a beautiful clubhouse. It's a wonderful clubhouse. And we have so many wonderful events in that clubhouse. Except that now, when we have an event, guess what? We can only have 150 people sitting in the clubhouse. Or if we have one of Lucy's great events, then we can have 200 people sitting in that big, wonderful clubhouse, which is, by the way, being renovated again. But I'm with Fran and these other people who say that we need another entrance and exit. We are all, again, in that same age bracket where we have a lot of people who are not able, they're disabled, and I can just see we having a major something like a hurricane or whatever. How on earth are the EMTs going to come in and out? How are the fire engines going to come in and out? They have problems now coming in and out of this place. And we have a lot of EMTs coming in, believe me, sometimes at midnight, and they wake us all up. So I'm all for that extra. It's not extra, it should be mandatory that we have another exit. And I don't see how those 63 new homes up there are going to fit into this community as such, because we already have such crowded facilities in there. And I'd like maybe some of you to come in and visit now and then during the week when we're all busy with bridge games and things like that. And the clubhouse is so crowded that you can't park in the parking lot, because that's where the mowing people have to park, and that's where the current construction people have to park. Also, we're a little tired of the construction because we have to have our houses power washed every single year.
Ma'am, do you have something that...
Yes, my question was, this is the question, how come we didn't get that little shopping center? That's my question. Why was it turned over in front of a community that has all ages of people? Why we, who need that, you know, who in our age group need the walking to a store to pick something up, why didn't we get that?
I'll answer that for you.
Yeah.
The applicant is not required, as per the zoning, to provide that, and he has decided to put homes, which is within the density requirement.
Well, what I'm saying is that we were pitched that.
Ma'am, we can't, that's between you and the developer. That's
Yeah,
what
well,
this board can't
okay.
deal with.
Let's keep that in mind, shall we?
Thank you.
Ma'am.
They keep telling us to come in and see these things, but we can't.
I was gonna say, how do I get in?
That's what it's.
Sworn in?
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. We apologize, we were having an internal conversation.
I figured.
If you could raise your right hand and solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Your name and address.
Gail Wohl, WOHL, 17 Republic Row.
Okay.
My question is, where are sidewalks? I maybe can't read the plan properly, but I am not sure where they are on the plan.
The sidewalks are shown in the lighter color yellow, and they're internal, and they're also in the single family.
Where are they? Where are they in the homes?
As an example, that's a sidewalk. It's
Yes.
the lighter yellow.
Okay.
It's right there.
And where about in the home development?
They come in, and I'm gonna go. They're around. You can't maybe see it,
I
but
can't see them. I don't think anybody else could either.
they're all around.
Okay. Is there egress from the new portion of the enclave into the, in other words, the people in this community walk a lot. That is their main exercise. And will these people have a safe way in and out of the new enclave community?
A safe way for vehicular access?
No, pedestrian. I'm talking safety pedestrian.
Yes, they can walk on the sidewalk that's along Canal Walk Boulevard. We're proposing an internal sidewalk to that. So it's an extension of the existing sidewalk system.
All right, there'll be, the sidewalk will go, if they come.
Yes,
here,
exactly. There you go.
The sidewalk, I don't, because there's black lines here, I don't know.
Yes, that's a sidewalk, that's a sidewalk. So the answer, yes, yes, they can.
Thank you.
Sure.
And time for one more person. Just since you've already been up, before you get a second bite at the apple, let's see if there's somebody else who wants to speak.
There you go.
Sir. And then I'll give you one more shot, and then we're gonna, and then we're gonna close for tonight, and then you'll get more chance tonight next time.
Solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Your name and address, please.
My name is Sal Saladini. I live at 4 Abrams Court. I've lived in town for over 50 years, the last 12 here in Canal Walk. I didn't come prepared to make any comments, but I was listening to the gentleman speak about this plan, and I just have a couple of comments. You keep hearing the expression, we're age restricted, but we do drive a lot, in spite of the fact that we're age restricted. And in spite of the fact that a lot of us have infirmities that slow us down, we can't see out the right side or the left side because our necks don't turn. And you're asking us to make a 120-degree turn here? Is that a 90? How sharp is that turn?
No, at the the road comes in, and right now there's a 90-degree intersection with Canal Walk.
And if I were leaving Canal Walk, I would have to cross Canal Walk Boulevard and make a left.
Yes, you would.
And that's true down further here at the entrance to the new homes.
Yes.
I don't know about you, but I spent a lot of time in Florida. God's waiting room, and if you've watched those people drive, this is what you're looking at. They cross the road without any regard to who's on the left, who's on the right. Signals don't go. This is an age-restricted community, and it should be built accommodating the age restriction. I wouldn't impose hazards or obstacles. I would make it as easy as possible. Now, one of the things I'm concerned about is emergency vehicles. You accommodated the condominiums. Well, what about these poor people? That vehicle's got to come all the way around, down through here, make all these turns and come back up here. The fire will be out by that time.
Now, we weren't asked to provide a secondary access on this side. This is a singular access, and we're asked to provide an emergency access only out to Schoolhouse. On the other side, it's a looped road, and if one side is blocked, then the other side can be accessible. And it's in conformance with the RSIS, and once again, our traffic consultant will be here to
And just to
explain that.
clarify, the emergency right here, sir, just to clarify, the emergency access that's off to the left of the enclave, that's not going to be where ambulances and fire trucks go in. They're going to go in the main entrance. Hopefully, 99% of the time, if not 100% of the time, the emergency, that's really should be called secondary emergency access. That's if, in case Canal Walk Boulevard or the entrance to the Enclave 2 is blocked, fire and the ambulances can also now go in the other way. And then what the engineer just described was, in terms of the subdivision, the fact you have this loop system provides you that 360-degree access.
If they're coming from the firehouse here, not too bad, they come down and come in, but if they're coming from Millstone, they've got to make all this.
You got to use the mic, or it won't pick up, sorry.
I'm just trying to shorten the trip. If they're coming from East Millstone, they've got to come all the way up around here, all the way around here, down here and around, where they could just shoot in here somewhere. I don't know how to do that.
Yeah, but
It just seems more logical to me to make it the shortest possible route from the firehouse to the site of the problem.
yeah, I mean, I'm not so sure how that problem you just described is any different than the rest of the whole development. And in fact, that's actually closer to the entrance to the whole development than almost everything else in all of Canal Walk. But
No, it is for the firehouse that's sitting on, Elizabeth Avenue? But if it's coming from East Millstone, it's not.
so, well, just the emergency access to both sides of the site is a number, is the, I'm not going to say the bulk, but it's a good number of the comments that the staff raised, and that's currently it continues to be reviewed. Your initial comment about designing for, you didn't indicate how it's not being designed to accommodate for senior drivers. I wasn't quite sure. I mean, other than, they're 90-degree, people have to make left turns off of any street into any other street. How is it not being accommodated?
Because on all the other streets, only one person is a senior citizen. In this case, we're all senior citizens.
Well, yeah, but
And when we have to cross the road,
you have to be able to make a left turn. I mean,
yeah, I agree. I told you at the beginning, I don't know what the answer is, but all I'm saying is that you should accommodate the age group and consider the fact that we don't necessarily look all the way back or even part of the way.
Okay.
Try to avoid as many crossovers as possible and as many sharp turns as possible.
Particularly
That's
if
my
it
only
was-
suggestion.
And if it was more than 90-degree or requiring some, we got it. Thank you.
Okay, you had one more comment. You've already been sworn in, so you just can talk, and we'll close.
I don't know if the board has jurisdiction over developers' agreements or not, but one of the very sore points in Canal Walk has been the fact that a number of roads didn't have their final topping put on till 6 and 7 years after people moved in. So point I want to make is sooner or later there'll be a developer's agreement here. And as Justice Bob said, we ought to make sure that the road system is built completely and there's a good pavement for all the purchasers
And you're speaking to the roads within the development?
within.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not, yes, and the mechanism, particularly if these are private roads, it wouldn't be in the form of a developer's agreement. They would have to put up a bond, a performance bond, for the improvement of those roadways. We hold their money, and they don't get their money back until those roads are done. So that's the mechanism to make sure they get done.
Okay, but that's not satisfactory because we've proved it. We've had these 6 and 7 and 8 year delays between your base coat and your final coat.
And I think what happens is unfortunately in a development of this size, the township doesn't want them to do that final coat until all of the homes are done and all the construction vehicles are out of that particular section of roadway.
Yeah, but
Smaller development, they can put in a 7, 8, unit subdivision, turnaround's pretty quick. Here, you've been living in a development that's been under construction for how many years now? Sometimes it takes longer.
But the reality is, because I'm a construction person myself, if you come up to a vacant lot on a paved street, you can build your house on that lot and not destroy the pavement. All the other people on that street should not have to suffer because there's a vacant lot.
The basic answer to your question is that if they sell them as quickly as they want to, they can pave the road as quickly. If they don't, it's going to be in the same time frame that you're talking about, because we don't have the ability to force them to do it. We have the ability, if they don't do it, as Mark pointed out, to make them do it, but they have the ability to put the base course down and do exactly what they're doing.
So we'll suffer for it. Thank you.
Okay, reminder once again that the next scheduled hearing is December 16th, and there'll be another ability to speak in open public session. And is there going to be notice or no?
There will be no further notice. This matter will be carried to December 16th without any further notice.
And I would suggest as well that in early December, you can call the Planning and Zoning Department to find out if the revised plans are in. So you'd be encouraged to come in and look at the plans, so you'll see if some of your comments are satisfied.
Should I, Mr. Chairman?
So, can motion to close the public portion?
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, as per your request, I will make a motion that the public portion on this application be closed for the time being.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Lanford, the staff would be much more comfortable deferring the vote on the amendment to the GDP tonight.
I have no problem with that, Mr. Clark, and
Good.
we could do it all at one time.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and just for the record, then, this matter is carried to December 16th without any further notice.
And you extend
Extend the board's time to act.
I believe you're still well within the time, but for the record, I will grant the extension through December 31st should you need it.
Thank you.
And just a reminder to the public, there will be no further notice of the December 16th meeting, which it won't be in the paper. So this is your notice that, mark it on your calendars for December 16th, or like Mark said, call the planning office, especially if it's deferred again.
All right.
Oh, yeah, no, it'll be on the agenda, just not publicly advertised.
Take them when you take them. Better for you to take them.
Okay, we just had, where's, excuse, next time, we'll get you next time. We're still, excuse me, ma'am, we're still in session. Ed, we're still in session. We're not done yet. Okay. Mark, you had, one quick item under, committee.
Very quick item as far as our affordable housing co-op plan. We were granted by the court protection from builders' remedy lawsuits until December 8th of this year. We are in the process, there are a number of balls up in the air that we're monitoring very closely. We're not exactly sure how we're going to respond, whether it's a new plan or some other course of action. But nonetheless, for the time being, we're protected and working with our Township Attorney's Office to do whatever we need to do to address the matter.
Why only to December 8th?
For whatever reason, and it was...
That's the start, that was the date that
6 months,
the
they
Supreme Court
retroactively.
gave.
And again, whatever...
Holding our feet to the fire.
It's hard to hear down here.
That's what it comes down to. They want to see a draft plan, okay?
Bottom line is, it's, for the time being, as of right now, we've done everything we can do, and whether, exactly what step we're going to do next, we're in the process of reviewing and responding, and there's a few things that are outside of our control, that we have to monitor and see what we're going to do.
And there's a decision by Judge Wolfson in Middlesex County with regard to the 1,000-unit cap.
That's one of the things
That's
we're
the big
looking at.
problem. That's the big problem we have as municipalities, all right? Because the 1,000-unit cap is no more.
And I would rather,
Well,
Let's
the
not-
1,000-unit no cap is no more for, in his opinion,
Right.
in his jurisdiction.
and I think we probably shouldn't go into that at this point, but it is one of the things we're looking at and seeing how we may or may not have to respond to that.
And we do have a meeting, we will have a meeting in 2 weeks.
Okay. So no immediate crisis with that, just,
No, I mean, again, once again, I think we've
I mean,
done
if any
we've done
township
as
has a
much.
plan that is real, it's gotta be ours.
And as of right now, the most we can, what is it, October 7th, as of October 7th, 2015, that's what we had to do. So for the time being, we are protected, and exactly what course of action we're going to take between now and December 8th, I'm not sure, but we'll do something and do whatever we need to do to protect ourselves.
Okay, sounds good. Anything else? If not, motion to adjourn?
I move.
I second.